Guys, what's up? My name is Anthony and welcome to another edition of the BNA Sports Talk. This is a daily series where I talk about things that are either talked about a lot and I want to throw my opinion into the ring, or things that aren't really talked about and I feel like talking about. So if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So today we're going to do the top 7 teams this year that were surprising. Now, I did this ranking based on how Vegas thought they'd do, like the Super Bowl betting odds, and then how I thought they'd do based on my predictions, and I kind of averaged those into this rankings. This is official rankings. No, just kidding. So let's start off with number 7, the Chiefs. I had the Chiefs doing really well. I had them going to the Super Bowl, but they opened up at odds like 90 or 60 to 1 in Vegas. They were middle of the pack. They weren't really expected to do well this year. Alex Smith leaving them and trusting a new quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who played Week 17 of the 2017 season, but he didn't really play that well. People weren't expecting, them to do as well as they did this season. And the season's not over yet, so there's always that. Next on the list is the Philadelphia Eagles. They were expected to go back to the Super Bowl this year, but they had a lot of injuries, and it wasn't really their fault. But I remember it's just like, well, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they got better. Like, they were pretty much locks to go back. People were speculating about other teams that may have overthrown them, and people were complaining about, like, oh, Carson Wentz is out for the first 3 games, and you had the people say, don't worry, that's fine. And now the Eagles are sitting at 7-7 as I speak. They could make the playoffs, but nobody's really expecting them to do anything. They've lost their big games this year. Against the Panthers, they blew a big lead, and they barely edged the Falcons, who are actually conveniently next on my list. I had the Falcons winning the Super Bowl. I had the Falcons winning the Super Bowl. Just imagine that for a second. The team that I had win the Super Bowl right now is 5-9. They're out of the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, they did suffer a lot of injuries, especially against the Eagles that first game. But like they choked so many winnable games away early in the season, like against the Bengals, against the Saints. Just imagine if the Falcons would have beaten the Saints that game. Imagine how different the season could have been. The Falcons could have caught on a roll early. They had that 4-game win streak. Imagine if they caught on that roll a little bit early and had huge momentum. The Falcons were a big disappointment this year, but not as big as not disappointment, but surprise, the Packers. Now, I didn't have them doing that well. I didn't have them making the playoffs. I didn't have the Vikings making the playoffs either, which you'll see later on the list. But nobody expected them to go 5-8-1 and have their coach fired. This is a disappointing season. No big injuries happened besides really Aaron Rodgers that first game against the Bears. It's just Aaron Rodgers was he's just too ad-lib. He's not following the play calls. He's kind of like Carson Wentz, honestly. The kind of Patrick Mahomes, like, get out of the pocket and try to make a play, and every single time he makes a play, it's like, oh, look how good he is. But if he just stuck to the script, like, he would be fine. And even Aaron Rodgers tried to convince Mike McCarthy just to let everyone try to get open, and he'll work his magic. He's 35, he's getting old, and so that's always not going to work out. So that was my number. That was my number 4. Number 3 on the list is the Bears. I expect them to do really well. I had them losing in the first round of the playoffs because I was kind of cautious about them. I'm like, this is a little bit too bold. But, if I would have had my opinion, I would have had them go into the conference championship. And that's what it seems like they're going to do this year. They still have a chance to get the number 2 seed, if you think about it. All the Rams have to do is lose to either the 49ers or the Cardinals. Really, they only have a chance to lose against the 49ers. And the Bears have to win out against the Vikings, and I forget who else they play. But this is really possible if they get a number 2 seed and have either Dallas, Seattle, or whoever makes the whoever wins the divisional round, come into their house. Now, they have to play the Saints away, which kind of concerns me. But I think that the Bears really were a surprise this year. They opened up as 25th favorites, 25th to win the Super Bowl. And now if you had to make a betting odds, you'd have them around like 7 or 8, I would say. Maybe a little bit higher because of that defense. And I said this all before Khalil Mack, but now especially after the Khalil Mack acquisition, oh my God. Number 2 is the Seahawks. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them. everyone's like, you know what, the Rams are going to win the division. This is all fine. I mean, the Rams did win the division, but they challenged the Rams in those games. They're 8-4 right now if you don't include those Rams games. If you think about it, they beat the Vikings. They beat the Packers. I mean, this team is supposed to be in rebuilding mode, and Bobby Wagner has the defense all fired up, especially in that one game against the Vikings. Really saw how the team came together, and they're if any team can make a run, they can. I remember when Russell Wilson was the player that was holding back this team. Now he's the player inspiring this team to do better. His stats may not show it all the time because he had like 88 yards in that game against the Vikings, but his influence over the game really matters. He makes that one or two plays. And my number one most surprised team of the year is Jaguars. They were pretty much odds-on favorites. Remember after they beat the Patriots, they were 2-1. They were riding high. I think they beat the Patriots at home. Well, no, they was in Jacksonville, but they were favored to win it all. Just imagine that. Pretty much the Jaguars were like top 3 in the power rankings, and since then they're 2-9. 2-9. That doesn't really how does that happen to a team? Like Blake Bortles completely fell off the earth, one of Tom Coughlin's worst mistakes. He thought he had another Eli Manning in him where you can kind of ride him, maybe develop him, but now they're pretty much the lowest of lows. The only hope that they have is drafting Will Grier, I think, because, I want the Giants to get Justin Herbert or Dwayne Haskins, to be honest, but you have to get somebody NFL ready, and I don't think Herbert or Dwayne Haskins is NFL ready. Dwayne Haskins can ride behind Eli Manning. And imagine Dwayne Haskins, Saquon Barkley, and Odell. That's a different topic for a different day. But we're talking about how trash the Jaguars are. They were supposed to win the division. One of my bold predictions actually was the Jaguars not making the playoffs and the Colts making the playoffs. And now you can see the Colts are number one favorite to get that second wild card because the Ravens play the Chargers this week. But that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening to this week's sports podcast, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.